Hey, what's going on, guys? Gumby here. Today I have another Razer Blade benchmarking video. This week I'm looking at Battlefield 4. This was a suggestion made by someone that has seen my last benchmark videos, Captain Zach. He was curious about how Battlefield 4 runs on this version of the Razer Blade. So what's up, man? If you're watching, appreciate your suggestion. And if anyone else has a suggestion about a game that they're curious about, please leave them in the comments. I know someone has already suggested PlanetSide 2, that's what I'm going to be looking at next, and then also Grand Theft Auto 5 is something that I'm curious about, so I'll probably be doing a video like this for both of those games coming up in the future. So if you want to see a particular game, like I said, please leave a note in the comments, and I'll check it out if I'm able to. I've also done 4 benchmark videos for this laptop in the past. So I've done Star Wars Battlefront, Fallout 4, Rainbow Six Siege, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive already. I will leave a information card in the top right video now. If you want to check those out, I'll put the playlist there. Appreciate you checking those out and let me know what you think. But today, I'm going to be doing 12 tests for Battlefield 4. I'm going to be doing, Battlefield 4 has low, medium, high, and ultra graphical settings. So I'm going to be testing each of those on 3 respective resolutions. So 1280 by 720p. 1920 by 1080p, and then 3200 by 1800p resolution. So I'm going to be doing each of the graphical settings in order through that order of resolution. So 720p to 1080p to 1800p. Let's just go ahead and start getting into those tests now. Starting today at 720p low settings, we're getting easily 100 plus FPS this entire time. I've expect that. The game now is going on 2 years old, and we're going to be getting a new Battlefield game coming out next year. So you'd expect that the hardware that is, the hardware is about 2 years old. The game's about 2 years old, so it should be on par about what it could do. And that's exactly what we're seeing. It's 720p, so everything's a little bit bigger. You don't have to squint for anything. And it's still a very pretty game that you can tell, especially from this next scene coming up where I'm in the water on the jet ski. Even though we're at low graphical settings, you're still seeing a lot of really pretty images and a lot of really pretty colors. And then moving on to medium settings, we're dipping about 60 FPS every now and then, but that's just when the chaos is happening. You're really seeing about 90 to 100 frames per second here. And then the graphics are just going to even be getting better as we're ramping up the graphical settings. And you can even tell by these early tests that this PC is going to be able to handle it. And then next, we have high settings, 720p. We're sticking around 70 to 100 frames per second. It does dip below into the 50s, but I'm going on averages here. You have high graphics settings, so now you're seeing a lot of really nice graphics that Battlefield has to offer, and you're getting really good frames to boot. And then ultra settings. This is the premium settings that you want your laptop to be at, or that your computer. You want those ultra graphics. You want those really pretty pictures with pretty colors. And you're getting about 70 to 100 frames per second, so it can really stick there. So if you're looking at that really great FPS, we already know 720p can do it. Moving on to 1080p, low settings, we're getting 100 plus. You can see I'm jumping out of the jet here just to get a big overview of the map, and frames are rendering well. We're still at 100 plus frames per second. The are loading in really quickly and effectively, and it looks really nice. Moving to medium settings for 1080p, we're again getting 100 plus. It's on the lower hundreds, and we're not getting 140 anymore, but it's still really, really nice. Getting a really clear image. The images are rendering really fast, and you're getting really good frames, manageable frames, even higher than, for a game like Battlefield. It's not CSGO. It is competitive, but not quite as competitive where you need the 100, 200 frames per second. Moving to the high graphical settings now for 1080p, we're looking at about 65 to 100 frames per second. You're not dipping much below the 60, and you're getting up to hundreds, maybe a little bit over. It all depends on how dense the map is, what's going on in the map, explosions, tanks, helicopters, all that stuff. That's all a factor into this game. But overall, you're getting a nice, clean, above 60 frames per second, and you're getting the high graphics that really make the game pretty and shine, and that's what you really want to play this type of game at, especially with the Frostbite engines being so as gorgeous as it is, and everything's running really smoothly. You're not getting those frame skips that you would get at maybe higher resolutions and higher graphical settings that we're going to see later on in this video. Moving to ultra settings, this is where the start of where frames drops, and this is where we see most games frames starting to drop. We're looking at about 39 to 70 frames per second, but really sticking around, the 50, 55. Sometimes we're dipping to 40 and 30s, but really stick around the 50 or 60 frames, which is still doable. And this is also where you want to start worrying about your computer's heat. So if you're playing for a short amount of time, you can easily do 1080p ultra graphics, and if you're fine with the frames that you're going to be getting, that's perfectly fine. But the heat may become an issue for long stretches of gaming. Moving on to our last resolution setting, so 3200 by 1800 resolution. We're looking at the low graphics settings. You're getting about 50 to 70 frames, which is good in terms of FPS, but what you're seeing here, the map and rendering, the objects are not rendering very well. You can see these patches just showing up, the big grid patches just popping up as I was falling in the sky. And even just driving around this Jeep, you see things are rendering very strangely. And the game, I don't think, is built for the 1080p, even though it has the option, and I'm running 1080p at 60 hertz, and that's the laptop's resolution. I don't suggest running any of the settings at 1800p, and you're going to see why as we move up in graphical intensity. This is the medium settings now. Now this is where we're really dipping in frames, 30 to 50 frames. I'm getting 50 to 55 right now, but I'm on top of a building around nothing else, no other objects around or in any vehicles. Now I'm flying around in a helicopter, and this one I'm 39 frames, 40 frames, and objects just aren't rendering quick enough, and it's just patchy, and it's ugly and blotchy, and even for medium graphics, it shouldn't look like this. And I think that's partly due to the resolution, and just even though Battlefield has the support for 3200 by 1800p at 60 hertz, I don't think that it's meant to be played at that. If you want to get a really nice resolution, stick to 1080p in my opinion. So moving to high, getting 28 to 30 FPS. It's just not really playable. I mean, I was able to play it, and I did a round using these high and ultra settings coming up, but it's not that fun, it's not that pretty, and nothing really renders well. You can see how far off my shot was. I was just trying to keep up with that guy and the refresh rate compared to what the frames that I'm having compared to him, and it just wasn't turning out really well. I killed a guy, but he was just standing still, and even that was at 30 frames per second. Not something you want to be doing on a PC. And then now we have ultra settings. I didn't even know a fence was there. It rendered late for me. So the frames I'm getting is 18 to 29. It's just not playable. Like I said, I would stick away from the 1800p Ultra. It's a pretty game, and I'm getting ultra graphics, but everything's just kind of rendering strange and funky, and I don't suggest it. So if you want to go by my suggestion, if you want the highest graphics setting that you can get with the best frames per second at the nicest resolution with not too much worry about a heating issue on your laptop, I would go with the 1080p resolution at highest graphical settings. The reason why I say that is you're getting really nice frames per second. You're going above 60 consistently. You're getting high graphical settings, so everything's looking very pretty and nice, and you're getting the advantages of the Frostbite engine, and then you're also getting 1080p graphics, 1080p resolution. So that would be my suggestion. If everything's kind of too small for you on a 14-inch screen, why don't you just drop it back to the 720p resolution and set it to ultra. You're getting easily above 100 frames per second, 70 to 100 frames per second, and that's still really great graphics. You're getting ultra graphics, and you're getting 720p resolution. It's still HD, and everything pops a little bit bigger because the objects are larger on the screen. And then, obviously, like I just said, the frames are really nice. So that's my suggestion. Let me know if you want to see any other games, or if you have any suggestions about this video that you think that I may have missed or not thought of. I appreciate it in the comments. I'd love to have another conversation like I've been having with you guys on these last videos. But that's all I have to say about Battlefield 4 on the Razer Blade 14. I hope your day is beer and Skittles, guys. And as always, thanks for tuning in.